Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is a new project. It's called the Farm Project. Pretty simple. And what I've given you, this is just a setup. What I've given you are links to 3 folders. The first folder you need to pay attention to is the Background Farms folder. This folder contains 6 images that you can choose from. So you have to choose one of the 6. Okay, and they all have these different sort of landscapes with farms and barns, and this one's sort of a barn, sort of a farm. That one sort of as well. You can choose any of those, but I want you to pay special attention to the angle of the camera. Most of them are pretty similar, where we would have like a horizon line right in here. If I jump to the next one, this one's about the same. This one's tough to tell because we have mountains and hills in the background, but it would be sort of top third. And the reason we want to pay attention to horizon lines is a reason that I will share with you in a minute, but you can choose any one of those. Then the next thing you have to do is choose any number of these images containing water. Okay, and why are we choosing water? Well, you're going to integrate water with the farm. So you're going to introduce a body of water, a pond or a stream, into the scene that contains your farm, and I'll show you how to do that. That's going to be step 1, which is what we're going to do today. The next step will be for you to choose any number of animals. I want you to choose at least one. You can do more. I've given you a link to this folder containing all these animals, and you're going to have to mask out these animals and also integrate it into your farm. All right. The key, well, we'll get into the keys with the animals later, but you can choose one of those. You don't have to do it now. The most important thing for today is to choose a background farm and a body of water, download it, and open the background farm into Photopea, which is what I have done right here. Now, a couple of things to keep in mind. The first thing you should do when you have your background farm open is check the image size. Okay, so I'm going to go to image size, and we do this a lot in Photoshop and Photopea, and we're going to notice that it has a width of 17 inches and a height of 11 inches. Some of you by default might have pixels. Okay, so you need to change from pixels to inches. All right, and 72 dots per inch, or points per inch. All right, that's what we want to work at right now. We're working at 72. We also want to turn any image that is larger than 12 inches wide into one that is exactly 12 inches wide. So I'm going to change the width from 12. And when I do that, you will also see the height change accordingly, because we have those two, the width and the height, are linked right here in our image size window. So as soon as I change 17.01 to 12, and if I click out here in the void, you'll see that my height also changed. This over here is an aspect ratio, but we don't want to get too confusing right now. So as soon as I click OK, you'll see that it looks like my farm image shrunk down. Anytime you're in Photopea or Photoshop, to see the image at 100%, and this will be easier to determine once we finally get back into Photoshop, but when you want to see an image at 100%, we double click our magnifying glass. So I'm going to double click that, and now we're looking at this at 100% of its size. Also keep in mind, with rulers, up here we have a representation with a bunch of numbers. Those are actually our pixels. So if I go look at my image size again, and I change this to pixels, you'll see that the width is 864, and you'll see that we have 0 to 864. I know it's hard to tell, but it's past 850, so we're going to assume that that's 864. And our height goes from 0 to just past 550, so that's the 561. So I'm just going to close that so you're aware. We can change our rulers from pixels to inches by right-clicking and choosing inches. And now you'll see that we have a 12-inch wide by almost an 8-inch tall image. Now the next thing you're going to want to do is choose your water. So again, I'm going to go to my water folder, and I'm going to look through these and try to choose one that I think best fits the scene. Something that will help with this is if I go back to Photopea and I look at my sky, it's sort of a light blue, gray, cloudy sky. Okay, so bodies of water are very reflective, so we want to try to emulate that the best we can. And this is the one that I'm going to choose. This is the one that I like best. We can, of course, change the color in Photopea of the water. We can do a lot of things to help blend it in, but this one's a close start. So I'm going to choose that one, which I've already downloaded, and I'm going to open it. And I have to go to my water folder to open that. And it's this one here with the lily pads. Okay, so now what we want to do is bring our water into our farm scene. All right, so all I'm going to do is go to select all or hit Control A to select the pixels. I'm going to go to edit copy or Control C to copy the pixels to our clipboard, and then go to my farm image and go to edit paste or hit Control V. And you're going to see my water comes in right in the middle, and I can move that around with my move tool. But now we have to try to integrate this water into the scene, and this is going to take a little bit of work on your part. All right, so what I want to do first is take the opacity of this layer down, and I'm just going to bump it down to about, I want to see it a little bit, because what we want to do when we integrate this is we don't want to just mask out everything that's not water. So let me show you what I'm talking about. If I move this down and I apply a mask, and then I get a brush, and I'm going to make this brush super big for now, and I'm going to change the hardness down a little bit, make it a little bit bigger, and I get rid of everything except for the water and the lily pads. You're going to see basically what looks like, I have to take it down below the tractor. Basically, it looks like they left the sprinklers on all night and some lily pads floated in there. We have a flood. We don't want a flood, we want a body of water. And most bodies of water, if not all, have some sort of a bank. So I'm going to undo that. And right back here, you can see that we've got, I'm not sure what these are, some sort of flowers or tulies back here, but we want to retain those. We want to keep those so it looks like we have a bank. So I'm going to take my opacity down a little bit, and I'm going to move this image, choose the pixel layer. I want to move it so my bank is down below this tractor and there's nothing else in my original farm scene that's in the way. So that looks pretty good right there. And then what I'm going to do is bump my opacity back up, and I'm going to go into my mask. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in now, and I'm going to choose a brush. So I have my paintbrush. I want black because I want to get rid of all the pixels. I'm going to make this smaller, and I'm going to make the hardness, let's make it around 70%. And then I'm going to start painting almost straight across. And what I'm doing is sort of going up and down because I want to stagger that line. We don't want to make this an absolute straight line because that wouldn't be realistic for a bank. Okay, space bar to get my hand tool, holding down space bar. Continue removing everything that's not those little tulies, and it's okay if you get rid of the flowers. And again, I'm sort of going up and down. That looks too straight right there, so I'm just going to stagger it a little bit to make it look more natural and realistic. And then I'm going to finish that off. And once I've got that outline down, I'm going to zoom out, get my brush again, make it a little bit bigger. In fact, I can make this completely 100% hard if I want, and go in and get rid of the top portion. And what you'll see is what looks like a pretty good start to this project. It almost looks integrated. The problem is that these tulies are super like dark forest green. Okay, so we're going to apply a couple of adjustment layers to our water layer to make it look like it belongs in this scene. So to do that, we're going to click on this icon here, new adjustment layer, and the first thing I always like to do is to play with levels. Okay, levels once again allows you to alter lights and darks in the scene. And remember the rule: you want to match the darkest darks with the of the water scene or the water layer to the darkest darks of the background farm scene. You can see the darkest darks here are pretty dark. They're probably pure black, and we almost have that here, but we do have, it's a little bit darker overall. We also want to match the lightest lights, and you can see here we have pretty much straight white, and here it's a little bit gray. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to make sure our adjustment layer is affecting only our water layer, because right now if I start playing with sliders, you'll see the whole scene go down. All right, and that's not what we want. We only want to adjust our water. So if I right click on my levels layer and choose clipping mask, you'll see a little arrow show up, which means, hey, I'm only affecting the layer right beneath me. no layer past that. All right. And then I'm going to grab my mid-tone and I'm going to lighten this up just a little bit. I might take the darks down a little bit as well. We can try to play with the lights, but we don't want to blow it out too far like that. So it's just going to be a slight adjustment. And again, I'm going to grab my mid-tones and take it down a little bit. Might even take that dark back a little. And then just click my properties button over here to get rid of that window. And then we're going to add another adjustment layer because the color is just wrong. All right, we've got too much blue in here, and I know that you guys aren't used to figuring out which color is which, and that's okay because all we have to do is add a color balance adjustment layer, and again right click to clip it to the layer 1 image or water image, and we can start playing with these. Now don't be afraid of this. Go in and slide these all the way left and right, and you can see, you know, green is being added when I go right, green is being taken away when I go left. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of, I'm going to leave my green right about in the center. We don't really want to mess with red. The red is fine the way it is. But watch what happens when I take the blue level down a little bit. You can see that it goes from this sort of purpley blue to a greenish blue that sort of matches the scene a little bit better with the same amount of green. And that looks pretty good right there. Now don't forget, if you don't like the way you masked out this image, you can always go back into your mask and get your brush and play with it a little bit. I might choose a softer brush, and I might do this. I'm just going to test it out. I think I need a bit of a softer brush. And there's just some darks there that I think really pop out that I don't like. So I'm just going to sort of get the edge of the brush and feather that down a little bit to make it look like my grasses sort of blend with the other grasses. And that looks pretty good for this portion of the farm project. So that's part 1. Tomorrow we'll deal with bringing in the animals, among other things. Okay? So get this done, save it as a PSD so you don't lose your layers. Make sure you save it somewhere where you can find it as a PSD and be ready to go again tomorrow.